The underestimated. The morning shift alarm echoed through Kepler Station's cargo bay as Captain Elena Vasquez finished loading the last container of medical supplies onto her freighter. The station hummed with its usual activity, alien voices, mixing in a dozen languages as traders, diplomats, and workers went about their daily routines. Elena wiped sweat from her forehead and checked her manifest one more time. Another delivery run to the outer colonies, another day of being treated like just another delivery service. "Captain Vasquez," called a familiar voice. Dr. Marcus Chen approached with his usual calm smile, carrying his research equipment. "Room for one more passenger?" The Vespid transport to Nexus 7 was cancelled again. Elena nodded and helped him secure his gear. Marcus was one of the few humans who worked directly with the Coalition's diplomatic corps, studying alien cultures and serving as a translator. Like most humans on the station, he was quiet, helpful, and largely ignored by the other species. "Another cancellation?" Elena asked. "That's the third one this month," Marcus shrugged. "High Merchant Veltara says human business isn't priority. The Vespids are busy with more important trade negotiations." His tone remained neutral, but Elena caught the slight tightness around his eyes. As they prepared for departure, Commander Zethkar of the Saurian fleet stormed past their ship, his scales rattling with agitation. The 7-foot-tall reptilian was arguing loudly with Ambassador Cretan, whose blue-green skin had darkened with stress. "The outer colonies cannot defend themselves," Zethkar hissed. "The Crimson Horde grows stronger every day. We need immediate action." Cretan's gills fluttered nervously. "The Council is still debating resource allocation. Perhaps we should consider the human offer of assistance." Zethkar's yellow eyes flashed with disdain. "The humans? What can those soft creatures do that we cannot? They have no real warships, no experienced warriors. They are useful for carrying supplies and cleaning stations, nothing more." Elena and Marcus exchanged glances but said nothing. They had heard such comments countless times over the 50 years since humanity joined the Galactic Trade Coalition. Humans were seen as helpful junior partners, good for manual labor and basic services, but never as equals in matters of war or high politics. The Crimson Horde had been raiding outer systems for months, growing bolder with each attack. Their savage reputation preceded them, a collection of warrior clans united under a single brutal leader. The Coalition's response had been slow and disorganized, with each species arguing over who should provide ships and personnel for defense. Elena piloted her freighter away from Kepler Station, setting course for the agricultural world of Haven's Rest. The journey would take 3 days, giving her time to think. As they traveled through hyperspace, Marcus studied intelligence reports on his personal tablet. "The Horde hit another system yesterday," he said quietly. 12 freighters destroyed, 2 mining stations completely wiped out. The Coalition lost 40 ships trying to respond. "And still, they refuse our help," Elena replied. She had served in Earth's merchant marine for 15 years before becoming an independent captain. Like many humans, she kept her military background to herself. The other species didn't need to know that most human freight captains were former naval officers, or that their ships carried more than just cargo. On the second day of their journey, they received an emergency transmission from Coalition Command. Commander Zethkar appeared on screen, his usual arrogance replaced by barely controlled panic. "All available vessels, respond immediately to coordinates 77 Alpha 9. The Crimson Horde has launched a massive assault on the Meridian system. We need every ship capable of carrying evacuees." Elena changed course without hesitation. Haven's Rest would have to wait. As they approached the Meridian system, the scope of the disaster became clear. Burning wreckage filled the space around the system's 3 inhabited planets. Coalition warships fired desperately at a massive fleet of dark, predatory vessels that seemed to swarm like insects. "My God," Marcus whispered, watching the battle through the viewport. "There must be thousands of them." The Crimson Horde ships were unlike anything in the Coalition fleet. Sleek and aggressive, they moved with deadly coordination. Their weapons tore through Coalition defenses like paper, Elena watched as a Saurian battlecruiser, pride of their fleet, exploded in a brilliant flash. All civilian vessels. Begin evacuation. Procedures. Zethkar's voice crackled over the comm. Priority rescue of Coalition personnel and essential civilians. Elena guided her freighter toward the nearest refugee transport, a massive Aquarian vessel already overloaded with evacuees. As they docked to transfer supplies and take on refugees, she overheard desperate conversations between Coalition officers. "We've lost 60% of our fleet," one Vespid commander buzzed anxiously. "Their technology is far more advanced than our intelligence indicated. Request immediate reinforcements from the core worlds," ordered a Saurian admiral, "and contact the humans. We need every available ship, even if they're just freighters." Elena bit back a bitter laugh. Now they wanted human help, when it was almost too late. She began loading refugees, mostly families with young children who stared with wide, frightened eyes at the battle raging outside. An older Aquarian male, his skin pale with shock, grabbed Elena's arm. "Captain, is it true what they're saying? That the Coalition fleet is finished?" Elena looked into his desperate eyes and felt something shift inside her. These people deserved honesty. "I don't know," she said gently. "But we're going to get you somewhere safe." As they completed the evacuation, Elena received a coded transmission on a frequency only humans used. The message was brief but clear. Phase 1 authorized. All assets prepare for immediate deployment. Marcus looked up from his tablet, his expression carefully neutral. Interesting timing for a maintenance update from Earth Transport Authority. Elena nodded slowly. After 50 years of being dismissed and underestimated, humanity was finally ready to show what they could really do. The other species had assumed that humans were weak because they were peaceful. They had mistaken patience for inability and kindness for foolishness. The evacuation continued for 18 hours. Elena's ship made 4 trips, ferrying hundreds of refugees to safety while Coalition forces fell back in disorder. The Crimson Horde seemed unstoppable, their dark ships advancing like a plague across the system. On their final evacuation run, Elena witnessed the destruction of Meridian Prime's orbital defense platform. The massive structure, home to millions of people, broke apart in slow motion as Horde ships swarmed over it like carrion birds. The Coalition's most important outer system was lost. Commander Zethkar's final transmission was filled with defeat. "All forces retreat to the inner defensive line. Meridian system is lost. Repeat, Meridian system has fallen to the Crimson Horde." As Elena's freighter limped away from the wreckage, carrying the last load of survivors, she felt a mix of sadness and anticipation. The galaxy had seen the Coalition's strength broken in a single battle. The proud species who had dismissed humanity as weak helpers now faced an enemy they couldn't defeat. But the Crimson Horde and the Coalition had both made the same mistake. They assumed that quiet meant weak, that peaceful meant helpless. For 50 years, humans had watched and learned while building something the galaxy had never seen before. Elena received another coded message as they entered hyperspace. Deep assets moving to positions. Operation Silent Thunder begins at dawn. Marcus closed his tablet and looked out at the stars. "The galaxy's about to learn something important about humanity," he said softly. Elena smiled grimly as she set course for Earth. "They wanted to see what we're capable of. I think they're about to find out." Behind them, the burning remains of Meridian system served as a grim reminder of what happened when civilizations became complacent. The Coalition had grown fat and lazy on their assumed superiority, never imagining that the quiet humans loading their cargo and cleaning their stations were actually studying, learning, and preparing. The Crimson Horde celebrated their victory, believing they had broken the galaxy's defenses. The Coalition species retreated in panic, finally ready to accept help from anyone, even the weak humans they had ignored for so long. But in the darkness between stars, ancient human protocols activated. Ships that had been disguised as freighters began revealing their true nature. Weapon systems that had been hidden for decades powered up for the first time. And across human space, a military force that had been built in secret for 50 years began to move. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. It was about to learn the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. The quiet ones were quiet no more, and the stars themselves would remember what happened when humanity finally decided to stop holding back. The awakening. 3 days after the fall of Meridian System, the galaxy held its breath. Coalition fleets had retreated to defensive positions around the core worlds, while the Crimson Horde consolidated their control over the outer territories. In emergency session chambers across dozens of worlds, alien leaders argued desperately about their next move. On the bridge of the Coalition flagship Zenith's Pride, Commander Zethkar stared at tactical displays showing the enemy's strength. The Saurian warrior's scales had dulled with exhaustion and defeat. Around him, officers from a dozen species worked frantically to organize what remained of their shattered forces. "Status report," Zethkar growled, his voice heavy with fatigue. Captain Veltara's compound eyes focused on her datapad. "We have confirmed losses of 347 ships, including 12 dreadnoughts. The Horde is advancing on 3 fronts, and their numbers appear to be growing." Ambassador Cretan's gills fluttered with barely controlled panic. "My government demands to know why the humans haven't responded to our request for assistance. Surely even their merchant vessels could help with evacuations." "The humans," Zethkar said with bitter irony. 50 years we've treated them as servants, and now we beg for their help." He paused, accessing a communication from Earth Command. "They claim their ships are repositioning for maximum effectiveness, whatever that means." What none of them knew was that 60 light-years away, the largest military fleet in galactic history was emerging from concealment. For 50 years, humanity had played a careful game, appearing weak while building strength in shadows. Their merchant vessels had mapped every system, their diplomats had studied every species, and their engineers had developed technologies that would reshape warfare itself. Admiral Sarah Kane stood on the bridge of the EDS Terra's Resolve, watching, as ships materialized from stealth fields like ghosts becoming solid. The massive vessel was just one of 200 human dreadnoughts that had been constructed in secret, hidden in asteroid fields, and dark nebulae across human space. "Fleet status, Chief Santos?" Admiral Kane asked. Chief Engineer Roberto Santos looked up from his console, his weathered face creased in satisfaction. "All 200 dreadnoughts operational, Admiral. 600 heavy cruisers standing by and 3,000 starfighters ready for launch. The stealth field generators are functioning at optimal efficiency." "And our special guests?" Santos smiled grimly. "The first wave of conversion packages has been delivered to every human freighter in Coalition space. Captain Vasquez and her colleagues should be quite surprised by their ship's new capabilities." Admiral Kane nodded. Elena Vasquez and thousands of other human captains were about to discover that their cargo vessels had been equipped with military-grade weapons and shielding from the beginning. The technology had been dormant, waiting for this moment. Halfway, across the galaxy, Elena felt her ship shudder as systems she didn't know existed came online. Her freighter's hull began shifting, armor plating emerging from hidden compartments while weapon ports opened along the sides. In minutes, her modest cargo hauler had transformed into a formidable warship. "Well," Marcus said, watching the transformation with fascination, "I suppose Earth Transport Authority maintenance was more thorough than we realized." Elena's communication system crackled to life with Admiral Kane's voice. "All human vessels, this is Fleet Command. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. You are no longer freighter captains. You are now commissioned officers in the Earth Defense Fleet. Prepare to show this galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." Across the outer systems, similar transformations were taking place. The Crimson Horde had just captured what they thought was another human supply convoy when the 15 cargo ships suddenly bristled with weapons and began moving with military precision. General Vexmore, Supreme Commander of the Crimson Horde, watched the engagement from his flagship with growing confusion. His forces had easily defeated Coalition fleets, but these human vessels fought differently. They moved in perfect coordination, their weapons precisely targeted, their tactics unlike anything in his experience. "How are they doing this?" Vexmore snarled at his tactical officer. Intelligence said the humans had no military forces. The tactical officer, a scarred veteran of 100 battles, studied the displays with growing unease. General, their ships appear to be using some form of adaptive shielding. Our weapons are having minimal effect, but their return fire is devastating our squadrons. On the bridge of Terra's Resolve, Admiral Kane watched the battle through drone feeds. The first test of human capabilities was going exactly as planned. She opened a channel to the Coalition command ship. Commander Zethkar, this is Admiral Sarah Kane of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are moving to engage the enemy. Please maintain your current positions and observe. Zethkar's image appeared on screen, his yellow eyes wide with shock. Admiral? Earth Defense Fleet? We were told humans had no military. You were told what we wanted you to believe. Kane interrupted gently. Now, watch and learn why we are called the Quiet Ones. The main human fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a thunderclap. 200 massive dreadnoughts appeared in perfect formation, their sleek hulls reflecting starlight as they moved toward the Crimson Horde fleet. Coalition officers stared in stunned silence at ships larger and more advanced than anything they had ever seen. Captain Lisa Park launched from the hangar bay of Terra's Resolve, leading a squadron of human starfighters. These weren't the simple patrol craft the galaxy knew about, but advanced aerospace fighters equipped with AI assistance and weapons that could punch through capital ship armor. Crimson Horde vessels, Admiral Kane broadcast on all frequencies. You have attacked peaceful worlds and threatened innocent lives. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. General Vexmore's response was predictable. Humans, your pathetic coalition has already fallen before our might. Surrender now and we may allow some of you to live as slaves. Admiral Kane's expression didn't change. So be it. All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity's friends. The battle that followed would be remembered as the Awakening, the moment when humanity revealed its true nature to the galaxy. Human dreadnoughts fired weapons that seemed to tear reality itself, creating localized space distortions that collapsed enemy ships like paper. Their shields absorbed incredible punishment while their point defense systems created impenetrable walls of energy. Captain Park's fighters moved through the enemy formation like deadly dancers, their pilots thinking and reacting faster than biological reflexes should allow. Each fighter was connected to a quantum-linked AI network that allowed perfect coordination without any delay in communication. General Vexmore watched in growing horror as his supposedly invincible fleet was systematically dismantled. Human ships moved with impossible precision. Their weapons found weak points that shouldn't have been detectable, and their tactics seemed to anticipate every move his forces made. "This is impossible," he roared. "No species advances this quickly. They were primitives 50 years ago." His tactical officer's voice was barely a whisper. "General, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. There are hundreds more ships like these, maybe thousands. This isn't their full fleet." The truth was even more staggering. Humanity had spent 50 years studying every species in the galaxy, learning their strengths and weaknesses, their technologies and tactics. While other species fought each other for territory and resources, humans had been building a defense force designed to protect everyone. Chief Engineer Santos watched the battle displays with satisfaction. "Phase synchronization at 98% efficiency, Admiral. The quantum-linked command system is working perfectly." This was humanity's greatest innovation, not just advanced weapons or stronger ships, but perfect coordination. Every human vessel, from the largest dreadnought to the smallest fighter, was connected through quantum-entangled communication systems that allowed instantaneous coordination across any distance. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it ended, the mighty Crimson Horde fleet was nothing but expanding clouds of debris. General Vexmore's flagship limped away in retreat, broadcasting desperate surrender offers that Admiral Kane ignored. Commander Zethkar sat in stunned silence on his bridge, trying to process what he had witnessed. The humans, the species his people had dismissed as weak servants, had just destroyed the most feared military force in the galaxy without taking significant casualties. Admiral Kane's voice filled the Coalition command ship. "Commander, The immediate threat has been neutralized. However, our analysis indicates the Crimson Horde has additional fleets in deep space. We recommend a coordinated response to eliminate this threat permanently. We? Zethkar managed to croak. You're offering to help us? We're offering to lead, Kane corrected calmly. For 50 years, we've watched the Coalition struggle with internal conflicts while real threats gathered in the darkness. The galaxy needs protection, and humanity is prepared to provide it. High Merchant Veltara's mandibles clicked nervously. The Council will need to discuss terms, Admiral. Humanity's capabilities change many things. Elena Vasquez, still adjusting to her transformed ship, received new orders from Fleet Command. She was to escort Coalition evacuees back to their homes, but this time as part of a human naval squadron. The frightened refugees who had seen their mighty Coalition fleet destroyed now watched in awe as human ships provided safe passage through space that had been ruled by pirates and raiders. Dr. Marcus Chen studied the readings from the battle, his scientific mind racing to understand the implications. Humanity hadn't just revealed superior technology, they had demonstrated a completely different approach to civilization itself. While other species competed and fought, humans had been quietly preparing to protect everyone. The galaxy will never be the same, he told Elena as they escorted a convoy of refugee ships home. Elena nodded, watching the stars ahead. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's time someone stood up for the peaceful worlds, the colonies that just want to farm and trade and raise their children safely. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The quiet humans, dismissed for 50 years as useful but weak, possessed the most advanced military force in known space. But more importantly, they had used this power not for conquest, but for protection. Ambassador Cretan sent an urgent message to his government. Revise all diplomatic protocols immediately. Humanity is not our junior partner. They may be our salvation. In the depths of space, Admiral Kane stood before a holographic display, showing the galaxy's power structure. Red zones indicated ongoing conflicts. Yellow areas showed unstable regions, and blue represented spaces under human protection. The blue was spreading rapidly as human fleets moved to establish patrol routes and defensive positions. Phase 2 commences tomorrow, she told her staff. We've shown the galaxy our strength. Now we show them our wisdom. Begin negotiations with all species for the new Galactic Defense Compact. It's time to bring real peace to the stars. The age of the Quiet Ones was over. The age of humanity's guardianship had begun, and the galaxy would be safer for it.